Good morning, guys. Yeah, so election night was last night, and obviously, I'd reminded people yesterday. I was really excited to have a good candidate like Chris Jones to vote for governor. Um, you know, uh, it was just he's a NASA physicist. Seems like a decent person as far as politicians go, right? And somebody who genuinely wanted to do something good for the state. So obviously, I'm disappointed that he didn't win. I won't talk about the the other candidate, but what I do want to talk about for a second is I went on to Twitter briefly last night. I have a Facebook account, but like I haven't used it basically since Trump got elected because I'm just, I hate it. I hate what politics does to people in terms of the way that they deal with each other. And so, like I said, I went on to Twitter for like a minute last night. And of course, with the Arkansas, it wasn't a close race, for governor, and there were just so many comments about how everybody in Arkansas is stupid, and they get what they deserve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, a lot of really nasty comments, basically about Arkansas. And so I wanted to talk for a second about that because honestly, I feel like within this twin flame journey, when stuff between twins, first of all, it's extremely common in twin flame connections that there are big cultural differences, and not necessarily race, right? But also race, but that people come from completely different backgrounds in terms of how they were raised, what their families were like, what their communities were like, and so we see what other people's actions through the lens of our own experience, and we make these judgments about people, about whether or not they are good or bad, or whether or not they are smart or stupid, based on our judgments, right? Exclusively. And here's the thing, let me use Arkansas as an example. I moved down here, like I said, 4.5 years ago, and what you've got to understand about Arkansas is that this is a rural area. I think Camden has like 15,000 people. I mean, it's a city, but it's not even a city, based on like what I'm used to people calling a city. I've always lived in urban areas prior to this. I lived in San Jose, like San Francisco Bay Area. Prior to that, I lived in the Phoenix Valley. Prior to that, I lived in Moscow, Russia. Prior to that, I lived in Houston, Texas. Prior to that, you know what I mean? Like and I'm from Cincinnati originally. So I've always lived in cities. And when I came down here, what I found is genuinely people are more authentic and compassionate here in Arkansas than any other place that I have ever lived. And I'm even talking specifically about being open as a witch. I basically went through my awakening journey in California, but what I found in California is that, witchcraft is an aesthetic. People don't really expect you to believe in God, like actually having spiritual beliefs. Makes you sound crazy in California. It's a very secular kind of place. And so even though people embrace like crystals and tarot and all of that stuff, a lot of it for a lot of people is not really authentic. Like, it's sort of more of an aesthetic. And I know I have a lot of viewers for California, and I'm not trying to like, talk smack about it, but you've probably experienced that to some extent as well. If your beliefs are, really ingrained and authentic and a part of your life and experience at this point, you understand that there's a lot of people that enjoy this kind of aesthetic as being fringe, but aren't authentic with it. The people down here are very authentic. However, they are from like generational from here. And you have to remember that there is, when I went to go vote yesterday, and I was trying to find the church that the voting location was at. It was like a block of churches. There were like 4 churches that I passed that were immediately adjacent to the church that I voted at. Like, churches are on every corner here. That's all that they have. That's all that they have here. So religion is a massive part of both community and identity, and it's inseparable in terms of how people, people's family, parents, siblings, friends, their entire community is wrapped around these churches. So in terms of things like voting, because I've had these conversations with people before, there were a lot of people that I worked with that did not like Trump, for example, yet still voted for Trump, right? Because, and when I asked, I said, why? Why? Right? And I said, well, my family's always voted Republican. I feel like, I can't handle that conversation with my dad. And of course, to me, I'm like, well, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't owe anybody this and that and whatever. But again, for people like us coming from more urban areas, that sort of openness to dissent is more accessible for us because we were raised in environments that had many, many choices. Right? If you're raised in an urban environment, you have many choices in terms of, your education, your career, you can change jobs easily. You can, if you don't like your circle of friends and you're moving on to different things, you can break out and have a whole new group of friends because you went to a meetup page. You know what I mean? Like, the accessibility for experiences in urban areas is completely different than what it is in rural areas. And so there's a tremendous amount of judgment on Arkansas right now, and voters. And what I'd like to say is that, you don't necessarily, we just so easily want to be able to say that people are stupid or people are bad or people are just fundamentally racist or whatever it may be. And are there seeds of people are different, right? There's good and bad people everywhere. It doesn't matter how they vote. It doesn't matter where they live. There's good and bad people everywhere. But when we assign that kind of judgment on people, who is that benefiting? Does that benefit, the judger to say now these people are bad? I just think it's fundamentally so divisive for us to make those kinds of judgments on other people. And coming back to the twin flame experience as well, right? I think that it's really damaging when we make those judgments about our twins as well, as to why they do things the way that they're doing, or they behave and act a certain way. And again, to be cognizant of these cultural differences. What I'm saying is, in terms of voting here in Arkansas, religion and family is wrapped heavily up into it. So it's very, very difficult, even if people feel authentically different than the choice that they made at the polls. You know what I mean? That there's a reason why. And I'm not saying that that's okay, but at the same time, it takes a lot of courage for anyone to break out of a mold and programming, essentially, that they've had their entire lives. That as far as they know is what binds them to having any sense of community at all. A lot of people really worry about being rejected by these communities, because where else do you go then? Where else do you go? So, so yeah, I'm kind of hoping that the reading today comes along the lines of sharing some perspective on a situation that you may not be aware of. But I just wanted to talk about that because I really wish that, regardless of what anybody's political beliefs are or cultural beliefs, that we could, you know, I feel like also people are more brave online in terms of going and making these really mean and nasty comments because they're sitting behind a computer. But regardless of whether or not you're behind a computer or in person, I just wish that people would be a little bit more understanding that they may not know. And I'm going to back up and say it's not that we may not know. We definitely don't know. We've never walked in anyone else's shoes, right? And by the way, like the only way to change perspectives and beliefs is to leave your community. It's not other people leaving your community and coming to yours. If you leave your community and go into a community that's completely different than yours, then you have a chance, to have an impact and influence on people. And so, I just think that ultimately it doesn't do anyone good because I think, honestly, I think that's how Trump got elected is exactly that kind of sort of mentality of just this really high judgment on Southern and rural red state voters about them being bad people, because then, what they took from that is that is just how everybody outside of these areas views them. And so when you're judged that way, you have no incentive to actually have a real conversation or communication with the other side. Do you see what I mean? What's the incentive if they already think that you're an idiot and a bad person and racist? See what I mean? So our judgments do matter because it affects our openness to communication as well as other people's openness to communication with us. And the same is true for our twins. I see a lot of comments in that respect as well online, people talking about, their divine masculines being idiots and it's not like I'm saying that I've never had that sort of feeling as well, but it's not fair, honestly. Okay. 5 of Pentacles, clarified by the Knight of Swords. 5 of Wands, clarified by the Ace of Cups. Temperance in reverse, clarified by the Page of Pentacles. Queen of Swords, clarified by the 4 of Wands. Okay, so what we've got a situation in terms of a situation here is we've got the 5 of Pentacles, which is the card about being out in the cold. We've got a Knight of Swords, which is usually like a hasty action. Then we have the 5 of Wands, which has been coming out a lot lately. It's that conflict card, clarified by the Ace of Cups. Temperance in reverse is about no longer waiting, kind of like, because temperance is about patience, it's about waiting, it's about harmony. And that's clarified by the Page of Pentacles, which is a small offer or a gift. And then we've got the Queen of Swords, which is clarified by the 4 of Wands. So again, we've seen, and then we've got 22 at the bottom of the deck, y'all. But we've seen these energies coming out in readings lately, the twin flame readings, and the divine masculine kind of being concerned about the divine feminine being in a Queen of Swords energy. And so we still have this looking like a no contact situation, right? That somebody's out in the cold. Then in the past, there was a hasty action or maybe some strong words that ended a situation here. But, then we see the Five of Wands, which is about conflict. Again, this has been showing up a lot in the readings lately too, that we know that the divine masculines are struggling with a fair amount of inner conflict, but as well as conflict in their environment. But that's clarified by the Ace of Cups. So, what that looks like is that a lot of this conflict is about the divine feminine in particular, about this new love. And so maybe Judgment's about the divine masculine wanting to come towards this person, or considering, reconciliation, or, and so they have conflict about that within themselves, as well as, hearing conflict or opinions from other people too. But, I'm seeing that they're wanting to put an end to this waiting. Kind of their patience with themselves is running out. And so they're going to want to move in with some sort of gift or offer, an extension of that. Because even though they're seeing the divine feminine as being in this Queen of Swords energy, that's clarified by Four of Wands. That's what they do want to come into union with their person here. So, what I'm going to ask is, because I look at what's at the bottom of this deck, Four of Wands again. Because what I, kind of in the intro here, what is it about this situation that you don't understand in terms of perspective? And in terms of, something that's happened here or that is happening, what is it that we're not aware of in terms of their perspective or environment that they're dealing with? Eight of Wands, Six of Swords, the Lovers, the Ace of Cups. Wow, that's funny. We had the Five of Wands and the Ace of Cups, and now in the same position, the Lovers and the Ace of Cups. Oh, you know what I'm going to do too? Just as, because this is kind of, I asked for, what are we not aware of in terms of perspective? And it's kind of coming out in contrast to the first cards I pulled out here. Okay, so the Knight of Pentacles clarified by the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Pentacles clarified by the Star. Okay. So the Eight of Wands is about fast action, and often it's about, fast incoming communication. And Six of Swords is about, moving away, from the past, moving to calmer waters, but having a sense of kind of like fear or grief, or, you know what I mean? It's been tough, a tough past, right? What I'm seeing here is that in this separation, when this separation happened, that, like I said, there were hasty words that happened, and I'm seeing that Eight of Wands as well. What you didn't know or didn't see at the time is because this person may have just instantly turned really cold on you. And what it looks like is, because Knight of Swords, that's a very harsh and hasty energy. But, with the Six of Swords clarifying, this Eight of Wands, what I'm seeing is that in reality, they just, or from their perspective, that they just felt like they quickly had to put an end to this because it was causing them a tremendous amount of pain. It was causing them a lot of pain, and they just couldn't take it. They just couldn't take it anymore. I don't know about the circumstances or whatever, but from this person's perspective, they just felt like they couldn't do this anymore. They had to, for themselves, they wanted to move to these calmer waters, because they were under such a tremendous amount of burden in terms of, whatever the final interactions were here in their situation. We have no idea what else was going on in their life, right? But I'm telling you, that's what they felt. That's what they felt when they did that. This conflict clarified by the Ace of Cups. Again, down here we have the Lovers clarified by the Ace of Cups. So, the Lovers is about making, a choice between, often the 3D and the 5D. So, why is my dog standing on the window? He's looking at something too. I'm sorry, you guys. What are you looking at? I don't know. All right. That's a new one. He's literally just, I know you guys can't see it, but my dog is just standing like on this little window ledge like it's a goat. Anyway, okay, so, Lovers is about having a choice between, often something physical and something spiritual. And so I think that's part of the clarification here. And what I'm drawn to say is, again, coming back to what I was talking about at the beginning, is, that community, that culture, family. I get the sense that in this situation, because again, this was a choice between something physical and the divine. I think that they did see you as the divine choice, right? But that they were held back, or felt really conflicted about making that choice, because they felt that it could never work with the 3D, essentially understanding that maybe even that they love you, but like not seeing that choice made any sense to them in terms of their family. In this Lovers card, it's it's Alice and this knight, I think, but they're being kicked out of the garden by the Queen of Hearts. So, the energy that I'm getting is that maybe they felt, that their family wouldn't accept you, that their mother wouldn't accept you, or that they just didn't understand how you were going to be able to be a part of their community. Maybe, these people had judgments about you based on, information that either the Divine Masculine had given them, or that other people had said, kind of gossip or whatever the case may be. But that essentially this person, that's why they tried to cut this off, in the past in some ways. It's not that they had a lack of love or feeling, because, Ace of Cups came out twice, but that they didn't see how this was ever going to work in the 3D. They just didn't see how it was ever going to work in the 3D. And so, when this conflict came up between you guys, it was kind of like that they just wanted to try and burn the bridge for themselves, to give themselves like mental relief from this chapter, and just say I've already accepted on some level that I can't be with this person, however much I may want to be. And so I'm just going to cut it off. I'm just going to be done with this, because it's not going to happen for me. Right. So, and again, but I feel strongly that mindset and perspective came from their culture, their community, their environment. The fact that, again, this isn't the way that we do things here, or this is the way that we've always done it, whatever the case may be, that those restrictions were, that they felt that they would be, essentially sort of pariahed from their own community, and in a sense that they didn't even know if this would work out long-term permanent. In twin flame connections, it's a lot of triggering. It's a lot of triggering the other person, back and forth. You get triggered by them, they get triggered by you. And a lot of times we don't have clarity or explanation, or understanding on what the other person's triggers are, because we're so focused on ours and how they hurt us and how they let us down, right? But so that's kind of this conflict, I feel like really does have a lot to do with this culture and community. And again, kind of same thing about Arkansas. If there's a church on every street corner, but I'm able to choose and openly be a witch. But God, can you imagine if a person from this community, how much harder it would be for them to to do something like that, especially if ever since they've been 3 years old, they've been going to church with the same people every day, right? Just because a choice may be easy for you doesn't mean that it's easy for the other person. This person just never fundamentally saw how this would ever work in the 3D. And those are limiting beliefs. I'm not saying that they're not, but those person had those limiting beliefs because of their culture, community, background, and how they were raised. So they didn't see how this was going to work anyway, and so they just cut it off to be done with it, because having that desire, as well as that defeat of believing that there's no way it would ever work, they just felt like they had to cut it off for themselves because it was hurting them too much. Okay. So, but then we've got the Temperance in reverse, clarified the Page of Pentacles up here. Again, that's kind of like, being done with waiting and wanting to come in and bring a gift, right? But I get the sense that this hasn't happened yet, right? And so here's why, right? We've got the Knight of Pentacles clarified by the Ten of Swords. This particular Knight of Pentacles is a slow moving energy. It's slow, but it's stable and consistent. But look at the Knight in this card. Do you see how he just looks, the expression on his face, he looks really kind of like scared, a little bit wonky. He's got on like a baking sheet as armor. And he's on a little Shetland pony. And so he's not feeling like this brave, triumphant knight charging in here. The reason why, it's taken time, to build this courage to try and come forward. That's what he wants to do. But this is whatever he's doing, whatever he has to do in order to do that is something that he's never done before. It's completely outside of his comfort zone. It's completely outside of, and he feels like this. He feels like this wonky little knight wearing a baking sheet, just, and coming in with his little pentacle and saying like, here, because he wants to come back to this person's life now. But, he also knows that that all of this happened, and he doesn't, he did this because he felt like he had to at the time to give himself any kind of relief. But now, it's made the situation worse, and the bridge has already been burned, and now he wants to come back and cross over it. And, and the courage and confidence that it takes to do that is tremendous. Because again, there's a perception of the divine feminine is sitting in that Queen of Swords energy. And so, because he knows that this queen was hurt just as badly, if not more, than he was when this ended. It took a lot of strength and courage, honestly, for him to even end it here, but he did it quickly. And he did it in a cutting way because he needed it to be done. It's just, do you see what I mean? Like, I get it, because I've done that sort of thing before too, where it's like, if you have like a toxic relationship with someone or something, you may have those moments of clarity of like, this is toxic, it's not working. And so you may want to just blow it up in the worst way possible. Because if you feel like you don't possess the strength to walk away on your own, you find a way to not give yourself an option to go back. That's burning the bridge, right? The bridge is burned in this situation. And so the Ten of Swords is just that ultimate, like, he knows there's been betrayal. He knows that he's been unkind, that he's been cutting, that he's been harsh. And so in order to try and walk back now to this person, after all of this has happened, I mean, it's taking just such a tremendous amount of strength at all, at all, to just even get on the horse, much less start riding it. But they are. I get the sense that they are. They are, moving slowly and trying. I feel like to build and gain confidence. They're probably also looking for signs and signals too, right? Signs that the divine feminine might be willing to forgive them, signs that she might be receptive to communications, signs from the universe, to move forward or how to proceed. Because again, these divine masculines are going through an awakening right now, or they have been. So keep in mind that in addition to everything that we experience during our awakenings, which is, it's not an easy time in our lives, right? But now they're trying to take on this. It's really kind of like a David and Goliath, kind of thing. Like they're trying to now, as David, come and conquer Goliath with their slingshot, even though it's just like, it's a lot of fear. It's taking a tremendous amount of courage. The Goliath in this situation is not the divine feminine. The Goliath is their fears. Because again, they've probably seen at this point, if they've had the awakening, they've had a lot more clarity on how their family dynamics or culture or community has impacted their beliefs and perspectives. So, they're trying, to now be authentic to kind of what they know or believe now that their perspective has changed. But at the same time, it's not easy and it just feels really wobbly. And, yeah. So, okay, the Queen of Swords clarified by the Four of Wands. I said that's how the divine masculine is perceiving the divine feminine at this point, is in that Queen of Swords energy. Not sure if she'll cut them off, but that they're wanting this twin flame union. But what I'm seeing here too, if you're wondering, why aren't they here yet? Why aren't they here? You know what I mean? Like, because I've been reading the comments and stuff like that, and I know people are seeing like these union energies, and they so badly want it to be true. And and again, I think we all go in waves. I think if you're authentically on this journey, that it's a matter of time, but that there's waves in time that this is going to happen for people. Maybe a long time, maybe a short time. I don't know. But in terms of why not yet, they are looking at the divine feminine. And again, it's showing the Ten of Pentacles clarified by the Star. They're seeing that the divine feminine had healed from this situation and continued building for themselves. And they do want this. They want this Ten of Pentacles. They want this happy, home and life and family with the divine feminine. But at the same time, I think that they're kind of perceiving this, the divine feminine, as seeing how well she has been healing and how much she has built for herself. And I think that they feel nervous, that even more nervous now than before, because if they had insecurities and self-worth issues before, they may be working on healing them. But where you are now, as opposed to before, is way worse. Again, from the divine masculine's perspective, they're seeing that the divine feminines have gone through this healing journey and they've built for themselves, and they're doing well. And they're like, how now, as much as I felt like I didn't really deserve this divine feminine before, now she's at a whole nother level. And, I think there's some hesitation in terms of coming into this about whether or not they'll interrupt that healing for you, whether or not they'll undo that healing for you, whether or not they'll disrupt your Ten of Pentacles. You know what I mean? So this is, I'm glad we did this reading, because you know what I mean? I think it is important to see and understand from our twins' perspective what's going on, and the reason that that they make some of the choices that they do, or why they don't reconnect, or why whatever. And a lot of times we may interpret that as coldness. We may interpret that as them not caring. But honestly, I mean, at this reading, we may have just seen, that this Five of Pentacles, that we felt out in the cold, that there was, this hasty, harsh words, that were had and taken towards us, and we may not see anything else. This person was an asshole. This person didn't care about us. This person is cruel. This person's a narcissist. This person's whatever. This person's stupid. This person's a coward. Do you see what I mean? Those judgments, when we hold on to those judgments because they make our ego feel better. That's why we do it. That's bottom line why we do it, is because and ultimately, often the actions people choose have nothing to do with us. And in this case, it has nothing to do with the divine feminine's value, right? But again, why I say that judgments are important and we should try to avoid them is because if you classify and see this person as being, stupid, a coward, a narcissist, cruel, you know what I mean? How are they ever going to come back in? And again, I don't think that did they do cruel things? Yes. Does that make them a cruel person? Maybe in that moment, but again, like, I don't feel like we can paint any one human with one brush. We all have moments of that. And if we get really real with ourselves and look back on some of our own past actions, we may know all of the intentions that we had, or the reasons or whatever for doing some bad thing, right? Some reason for us because we understand our own perspective and how we ended up in that situation. But, other people on the outside of that situation may have, said like, oh, that's a really bad thing that you did, and you're a bad person, right? When you say that someone is bad, it gives them no room to be anything other than that in terms of you. So be cautious of what kind of, perspectives that we do hold in our minds for anybody, like this. Again, even in terms of forgiveness is a very healing thing. And it's hard to come by. It takes a lot of work to forgive a situation like this because, we may have been left for months or years without any explanation on this. And the fact of the matter is, what happened in this situation is this person was desperately in love with you, and they absolutely had, they were filled with, self-limiting beliefs, that were ingrained within their community, their environment, their family, their culture, whatever it may be. And they felt, and on some level, that pushing you away or letting you go was the kind thing to do, not only for themselves, but for you, because they felt that you deserved better anyway, that they weren't good enough anyway, and that there was no way that even if you both were desperately in love with each other, that they could make this work in any sort of 3D physical or practical sense. They just didn't see how it was going to work. So they thought by cutting this off that it was the best thing for you to do, or for them to do, for the both of you. The thing is that, now they're on the outside. They can't, this love hasn't gone away. It never went away. But so now in terms of coming back in, that's just a terrible situation to be in, right? The bridge has already been burned, and now he's trying to get his baking sheets together and pentacles out to come in. And so for the divine feminine, have understanding and compassion for like how difficult of a position that is to be in. Because again, a lot of these divine masculines have been struggling with those self-worth issues their whole lives. And so even if now they're trying to change, that's a slow process. And I think because the bridge was burned in the past, they're really, like, they don't want to come in until they are sure that they are absolutely positive that they have something stable to offer you. That's why they're taking their times, and that's why they're being slow about it. Is just because it takes a tremendous amount of courage. They know that they've already let you down, and they feel like if they come in and let you down again by not having their shit together, by not having a plan for how this might work, that it's going to be a permanent loss. They don't know if it already is a permanent loss, but even with a glimmer of hope here, they know, or they feel that they have to have everything together. And of course, most of the divine feminines are not, they probably just like some communication, but at the same time, again, if that communication is premature, it may do more damage than good in this situation. Okay, I'm gonna get a guidance card in this situation. Out of the woods, you've made it through. What newness is emerging? I get the sense from this card, just when it said out of the woods, I mean, I'm just looking at this, again, this divine masculine, this Knight of Pentacles, riding through the woods on this trail. And, so I think, have faith that the divine masculines can get there. This is an extremely challenging period for them. We, as divine feminines, a lot of us went through our awakening process either prior to or in parallel to meeting our twins, right? And so we went through that, and I'm not saying like, oh, the divine feminines have it easier. They don't. Everybody has specific challenges, but they take shape in different facets for the divine feminine versus the divine masculine. But, imagine having to try and come back in like this. It's when you've been going through a spiritual awakening. I mean, it's tough. But, progress is being made. They're essentially traveling through the woods. They're almost out of the woods. But also in terms of what newness is emerging, look, I think this is a note to both the divine feminine and masculine. Is look at the growth, to try and look at what has happened in terms of your behaviors and responses to certain situations, as well as theirs. Okay, may not be perfect, right? None of us are. Take responsibility for your life as a creative adventure. How can you live life with more meaning, integrity, and truth? Yeah, and I think the message here is again, whether or not this person is coming in and however long it takes, to respect that they are on their journey right now, and that you need to be on yours, right? We need to be on our all of us need to be focused on our own journeys. And the more intention and focus you put towards how fast or slow this person is going, kind of the more that's going to slow your journey down, right? So to maintain focus on your journey. I do want to I'm really enjoying these affirmators. And by the way, congratulations again to Firefly and Spiritual Brat for winning the giveaway. I'll be sending those out today. Engagement. Today I make the conscious choice to engage with the world in an active way. I'll take a new route and talk to strangers. I'll smell flowers and pet dogs and maybe walk around barefoot for a while if I'm not inside a 7-Eleven. At the very least, I'll have a day that's slightly more interesting than average. And at the most, I'll have a startling epiphany or make a friend who will change my life forever. No pressure. I feel like, again, this card is asking you to look for new connections that will help you change your perspective or create an awareness. So, to connect with people, to make a conscious choice to connect with new people that have different perspectives than you do. I find that that's one of the, we've gotten to the point where we can't even discuss politics with each other because it's gotten so nasty. you can, it should absolutely be possible for us as humans to have just a multitude of different perspectives, but still be respectful and kind towards each other, right? To not make massive assumptions about people based on their beliefs, their perspectives, or their choices, right? And friendship and relationships are how you do that. I mean, I'm so grateful for the community that I have down here in Arkansas. My lawn guy, Ricky, he's, he thinks Trump was the best president that we've ever had. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. But what I can tell you is that Ricky is a good man. He is a good Christian, loving, God-driven man. And he has a beautiful spirit. He's exceptionally kind, and he's always like looked out for me. And even though we have completely different political beliefs, I know that he is a good person, and I'm grateful for the ways that he's been open-minded towards me as well. I mean, he knows that I'm a witch, and he's a good God-fearing Christian man, and he has shown me nothing but love, compassion, and consideration. So anyway. Okay, inspiration. There's a voice of inspiration within me. Right now, it's only a whisper, but the more I listen, the louder it will get. Soon it will be a flawless speech, voiced by James Earl Jones through a megaphone with lots of applause. I think this message is about connecting back into, this is a tough situation to be in. This conflict that surrounds the environment or surrounded them in the past, I believe it still surrounds them. They are still going to be dealing with those judgments from their family members, from their community, from their culture, right? And it is extremely difficult to quiet all of those voices that you've heard your entire life and try and seek out what your voice is. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, and it's asking everybody to do that, as well as have compassion for people who are trying. It's funny, these cards came out yesterday and I shuffled this deck a lot. Trust. I trust that everything will be okay in the end. Partly because I simply know it in my gut, but also because it's way more fun to live with trust and confidence than to be a defensive wiener. Again, what I pointed out on this card yesterday, that it's a bear walking blindfolded on a tightrope over a bunch of sharks with a balancing pole with a mouse on it. This mouse is what I see as fear. And, so keep in mind that, yes, we should all be trusting that good things are coming for us. But in order, you've got that fear, and that's okay. It's okay to be walking forward with this fear. That's what makes this a courageous journey, right? But on this tightrope, this bear is not going to be sprinting, right? He's walking and balancing on every single step. And that's why it's slow. And to have understanding and compassion, again, for these divine masculines, that what they are doing is not easy. It is difficult, and it's going to take some time. But that's the only way for them to get there safely, right? They've got to do it. They're also learning their boundaries right now too. And so they're trying to do this in a temperate way. We're taking these steps in a way that's not, this is a huge leap of faith for them to begin with, right? But they're trying to respect their own inner voice as well on this, and to not go too fast. Because, you can easily fall off if you jump too far, right? All right. Let's see. I'm going to get one of these, and then we'll close it out. Fire. Confidence, optimism, passion, and bravery. So again, in terms of that confidence, what's happening here is these divine masculines are building confidence. I don't know about y'all, but I have said some not nice things to my person in the past, and I'm pretty sure that I more than once called him a coward. which, you know, is not my proudest moment, but, you know, um, again, I was lacking that perspective and that compassion. What they're doing right now, again, it requires a tremendous amount of courage to be doing what they're doing. You may not be seeing their courage or confidence in loud ways, but by doing this, and especially when they are scared to do so. Again, we saw that here in this trust card with the mouse that came out, as well as this Knight of Pentacles where he's, you know, looking scared and kind of wonky doing this. Just understand that these things that the divine masculines are working through and doing right now are helping to build their confidence. And the more confidence you have, the more bravery that you have. And the more bravery that you have, the more ability that you have to follow your passions. The more able you are to be optimistic, because once you know, people aren't optimistic until they go and do these scary things and come out on the other side. And that they can see that when they've had this faith and trust, that it works out. Until you actually go through that journey and do those things, you know, you can't do that. You can't be a confident person until you have built your confidence. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, so I'm going to leave it at that for today. But again, just have compassion, with other people, your divine counterpart, your neighbors, people online. Let's not make so many assumptions about what we know about other people, and let's focus on ourselves and what we can do within ourselves to make this world a better place. And so, you know, I'm going to leave it at that. Again, if this message resonated for you guys, please like, comment, or subscribe. And if you would like a personal reading, I'm open for that. And you can either email me with the my email address that's in the description box, or just book straight through on my Etsy, which is also in the description box. Okay. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.